Historical Society on BCTV is supported in part by the Highlands at Wyomissing.
Good evening, and welcome to the monthly program of the Historical Society of Berks County. My name is Sime Bertolet. I'm the Executive Director of the Historical Society, and tonight I'm sitting in for your regular host, George M. Miser, President of the Historical Society and publisher of the Historical Review of Berks County. George is out on assignment tonight and can't be with us, but he will return next month. I'd like you to remember that tonight's program is being broadcast live, but it will repeat this coming Friday at 10 o'clock, this Saturday at 6 o'clock, and this coming Sunday at 9 a.m. And also, it'll also be rebroadcast many times throughout the month during late night. So, Jimmy Fallon, if you're listening, you've got competition. I'd also like to say that now you can also view the show via webcast by going to the Historical Society of Berks County's website at www.berkshistory.org and clicking on our multimedia task. It'll take you to where you can see the show via webcast. But if you're like me and you don't have time to sit in front of the television, I would also tell you to go to our website and go onto the multimedia button, click it, and it'll take you to an area where you can download a podcast version directly into iTunes and then onto your iPod and watch it wherever you go while you're on the run. So that's another nice benefit we have as well. Seated beside me for tonight's show is my co-host, Kimberly Richards, Director of Archives and Libraries for the Historical Society. And seated next to her is Joshua K. Blay, Associate Director for the Historical Society and Curator.
Evening.
Good evening. Good evening to you all. And I'd just like to say welcome all to the March 4th, 2009 program.
We'd just like everybody to know that our museum, library, and gift shop are open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 to 4. And if you're looking for a gift for that special someone, our gift shop is fully stocked with Reading and Berks histories by all types of authors. And we also have the largest inventories of pottery and artwork and craft items.
For anyone who's not a member, I would really like to encourage you to join us. As you can see, if you're a follower of this television program, we do have a lot of fun on the program. It's the same thing on the exhibits and the educational programs that we provide at the Historical Society. And so for as little as $40 a month for an individual membership, you can take part in the festivities, and you get a lot of things, a lot of benefits from being a member of the Historical Society. First and foremost, you get to receive our quarterly journal, the Historical Review of Berks County, which has been in continuous publication since 1935. In addition to the Historical Review, you also get the members' updates, which fills you in on the events at the Historical Society between the reviews. You get free admission into the library and gift shop. With the update, you get notified. Here's the update. Good. Here's a copy of the latest update that we have, and it'll tell you about all the events that we have coming up at the Historical Society, such as upcoming exhibits, upcoming lectures, our first Saturday programs, youth education events, and that type of thing, as well as our 4 Centuries in Berks Historic Property Tour. So it really is a good deal. In addition, as I said, you get the free admission to the library and free admission to the museum anytime you want. So it really is a bonus. If you'd like to join as a family, for $50, you get all the benefits that I mentioned before. In addition, you get unlimited access to the library and museum for all those living underneath one roof. So it really is a lot of fun. And I failed to mention also, if you're already a member of the Historical Society and you've been a collector of the Historical Review, we have, and you're missing some issues from your collection, we have issues going back to the late 1930s, so you might want to give us a call for any one of those that you're missing, and we can fill in the gaps. Let's see, what else?
We also have a fully online index of all the reviews going back to 1935, so if you're looking for a particular topic, you can a very easy keyword search. So
yeah, keyword search, that's right. Yeah. So you can find it. So that's a good deal. So anyway, you want to tell them a little bit more about the membership and volunteer opportunities?
Well, we have a number of volunteer opportunities available, whether it's in the education department, the library, museum, or gift shop. We're always looking for volunteers to come in and help us out. Also, we'd like to remind you that Berks Community Television, BCTV, is now observing its 31st anniversary and is a survivor in a tough venue and a unique entity in that it's interactive. So we'd like to remind you to call in and ask us questions at any time. And why not salute BCTV for all the great shows it provides to Reading and Berks and send in a check for a year's membership.
Sounds good.
List the address. Would you like, the address is BCTV 645 Penn Street, Reading, PA 19601.
Remember, time passes, but operating expenses never go away.
And we encourage you, we're going to have a few questions tonight, so we certainly encourage you to call in with any questions at 610-378-0426. Kim mentioned the need for volunteers. We have many opportunities. Kim mentioned the library, the gift shop with tours, with the museum collection. Computer skills we can certainly use, or research skills, or photography skills. There's a wide variety of things you could really do for either Kim, myself, Gloria, and a lot of opportunities. A little housekeeping here before we talk about our upcoming public programs here. Probably you enjoyed the warm weather last week as much as I did, but we had a little bit of a shock this past Monday with the snowstorm. Winter isn't quite over, so the Historical Society will follow the lead of the Reading School District. If the Reading School District is delayed 2 hours, for example, we'll open up at 11. If they're closed, we're closed. Good way to keep track is to keep an eye on the Reading Eagle website or WFMZ Channel 69 website, or either online at the FMZ website or on the TV, and also WEEU. They also keep on track of it there. So listen to Charlie Adams on Charlie and Company in the morning. He keeps a track of it there. On Saturdays, of course, when school regularly isn't in session, of course, exercise caution, but when in doubt, give us a call on a Saturday to see if we're open. If we answer we're there. If we're closed, well, we're closed. First Saturdays, this coming Saturday is our exhibit opening. If we can pull up the exhibit opening invite postcard there, we have a, this is a special first Saturday. We have our exhibit opening for the Berks County Homefront exhibit, World Wars I and II. On the Berks Homefront, we stood united. Our opening program is going to kick off at 10 o'clock. The building does open at 9, but the opening lecture does kick off at 10 o'clock. This is our wonderful postcard incorporating some of the posters we have in the exhibit here. We're going to have a number of military vehicles, people in period dress on Saturday, and this is a completely free event and public welcome. Bring a friend. It's going to be we have a feeling if the weather is going to pan out like it should, it's going to be a very popular event. So please do come early. The lecture is going to begin promptly at 10 o'clock, and it's going to be a full day. We've got the auditorium decorated up like a USO with some huge flags, some bunting, and a large parachute on the ceiling. The Andrews sisters, Laverne, Maxine, and Patty, all three of them will be joining us. We're also going to have some food available, including Uncle Sam's Spam, Liberty corned beef, and Homefront ham salad. There's also, we have a, Simon was mentioning the Historical Review before. If you want to pull up that other cover there for the Historical Review, this is a really good, beautiful cover. That magazine is just about to come out, I think.
It should have. Hopefully it has been mailed today.
Okay.
Like I said, we're keeping our fingers crossed, and people will have it before the exhibit. But yeah, it should have been mailed today, so we'll see. Most people in Berks County ought to have it Thursday or Friday.
Certainly. I'm a little young myself. I have a couple of bits of trivia here on the Andrews sisters. I wasn't too familiar with them, but I found some neat things today. They are one of the most successful female group recording acts of all time. They've sold between 75 and 100 million records from a little over 600 recorded tunes. I got some notes here. I wasn't going to be able to remember. One of the funny thing is, one of their songs was a 1937 hit, recording the Yiddish tune, "To Me You Are Beautiful." It was so popular that it was smuggled into Germany and became a favorite of the Nazis, but it was soon discovered that the composers of the song were of Jewish descent, so they stopped playing it, but it was an incredibly popular song. But here's some more interesting facts about the Andrews sisters. They have 113 charted Billboard hits. 46 of those, about a third of them, reached the top 10, even more than Elvis and the Beatles.
Wow.
17, they were in 17 Hollywood films, more than any other singing group in motion picture history. They had record-breaking theater and cabaret runs across America and Europe. This is going to tell you who's going to be here, so that you know if it's going to be popular.
You did say they were going to be at the opening.
They will be here at the opening.
Where else but the Historical Society of Berks County would you get that?
And they had guest appearances on every major television show of the 50s and 60s, including those hosted by Ed Sullivan, Milton Berle, Perry Como, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Johnny Carson, Joey Bishop, Art Linkletter, and Jimmy Dean. So usually our programs begin at 10 o'clock with a light breakfast beforehand, but we'll have some after-program food afterwards. On April 4th, our first Saturday program will be highlights of the Civil War medicine, and on May 2nd, the program will be hosted by Henrik Janssen. It will be a history of the Landis Nature Friends Camp of District Township from the eastern portion of the county. And now I think we're going to...
Well, one thing before we go away, you know, when Josh and Kimberly were speaking about the volunteers, I assume that since the audience, those in the audience watching the show have a natural inclination and an interest in the subject of history, you know, Berks County history and that type of thing, and you really, a volunteer position at the Historical Society for you would be a great thing, because like I said, these people, Josh and Kimberly, work with the artifacts, you know, that are, you know, Berks County, and you'll be able to get to work with a lot of cool stuff, see how a museum works. It's not hard work, it's clean work, you're dealing with a lot of really nice and friendly people. So I encourage all of you to really consider that, because like I said, you'd be doing and working in an area that you have a great interest in. Well, tonight we have a new segment on the monthly program. We were thinking, you know, some of the things that we've done in the past, we were thinking about how we could expand upon them, and we decided to adopt a new program. And with the help of my colleagues, I'd like to introduce Do You Know? Do You Know is going to be a monthly, so let's keep that. Do You Know is going to be a monthly, hopefully a monthly portion of the program, if you like it, where we will show photographs of different things, events that happened in Berks County, and you will get to call in, and if you can give us the who, what, when, where, and why of the circumstances, you can win some really neat prizes. One of the first ones, you can win a beautiful baseball cap, the 175th anniversary of the Reading Company. It was our last major exhibit, and we offer these caps in 4 different colors. You've got navy blue there, you've got white, we've got red, look at that one, that's good looking, and then we've also got khaki. So if you can provide the correct answer to the photographs that Josh is going to show, you can win that, or you can even win a copy of Passing Scene Volume 13. So like I said, the prizes are great. So I'm going to turn to Josh and see what the first photograph is.
Let's have a look at
and see whether we can get someone in the audience to tell us what this is, Josh.
Let's have a look at our fancy thinking box on the laptop here. I have a couple slides here for you. There we go. Okay, the first question, the first pair of images is our first What Do You Know prize, and here's the first image. Trying to see if anybody knows what's going on here. I can give you a clue. It is in Berks County.
Oh, that's right.
If you can see if you can identify what's going on, who are they and what are they doing?
Where are they?
And where are they? Who? What?
Within Berks County.
Within Berks County, of course. And if you want to give a call into our TV show right here at 610-378-0426, or you're welcome to call us at the Historical Society as well, just in case you need some time to think about it. The other image right here is also related to it. This is also of the same series of photographs. And again, you can call us during regular hours, Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 4, 610-375-4375, unless you're able to get it. But these are a wonderful set of images that we didn't know it existed, and they were part of a much larger collection. I can't really go into detail or I'd give the prize away, but quite fascinating.
Yeah, it really is. Now, let's see. Now, I think we'll turn, while you're thinking about that and formulating your answers, I think we're going to turn the show back over to Kim, and she's going to give us an update on. Oh, no. Okay, we're going to do a little bit. We have some other housekeeping chores. I just want to remind the folks that last week, I believe I touched on this, that since moving out of the former Palmer Library at our main location of 940 Center Avenue, we have moved into the brand new Henry Janssen Library, a beautiful facility if you haven't seen it, a total departure from our other areas. From our other location, 940 Center Avenue, we have Colonial Revival, the Hendel House, we have Vintage Victorian, but at the new Henry Janssen Library, it is a dramatic piece of 21st century contemporary architecture, so it really is lovely. But we moved out of the old library and into the new, and we had to have something to do with that space. And the Board of Trustees for the Historical Society decided that it would be in the best interest of the Historical Society to make some changes. So what we have done is we've taken what used to be the research room, the main library room where people did their research. We have turned that, or will be turning that into, in the next couple of weeks, into a brand new exhibition area that will be used for smaller, short-term exhibits. In addition, we have a great amount of wall space on the walls now, and we'll be able to display some of the artwork that we have in our collection that has heretofore never been on display, I would say, for the most part. Wouldn't you, Josh?
Certainly. I can certainly envision this room as rotating stuff through the collection. We've got some wonderful pieces that just not have seen the light of day recently, and we know where everything is. So our painting collection is almost getting better every month from new donations, and you'll see an example of that in a couple of minutes here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's really
it'll be a wonderful, intimate display space.
Yeah, it's a wonderful step forward. In addition, as well as that area, if you're not aware, at the Historical Society, we get many research and genealogists that use our new library on a daily basis, and many times they come in with their wife or their spouse or a guest and who is not doing research, and so they'll take tours of the library and the museum, but after they get through, they need a nice place to sit down. Well, we have a beautiful area in the old research room in this new exhibit area that we're going to make into a seating area so that those who are accompanying people doing research have a place to relax, unwind, read. In addition to that, the area in back of the research room is what we call the stack area. That's where we kept all of our manuscripts and our books, our volumes, and our more precious items that we did not permit public access. We are going to turn that area into a new education and education outreach room. Vicki Hefner, our education curator, finally has a room where she can hold her classes, and where she used to hold them in our main auditorium, and which was a lovely facility. There were a lot of distractions, and people would be coming and going, and sometimes the kids just didn't have a good place to concentrate and really concentrate on the work that they were doing. Well, now we do have that, and it's really going to be a marked improvement for the Historical Society, and we're really looking forward to the new Palmer Gallery and the education room. So that's what's happening, what's going on at the Historical Society. Now I'd like to go to Kimberly Richards, our Director of Archives and Libraries, and don't call Kimberly a librarian, she's an archivist, and turn the program over to her, and she's going to talk about some of the things that she has found in her collection, and other just kind of fascinating tips and just skills that an archivist has.
Fascinating
Kim.
tips. Well, I believe I mentioned previously that we were going to receive the Berksheim collection from the county home, and it's arrived. Roughly, there's, I think, around 125 ledgers, though I think we actually received more than that. The oldest ledger I actually brought with me is from 1833. I'm going to kind of hold it up here. The ledgers range in a series. The county home actually put all the ledgers into series for us. The first series, I'm going to have to check this, is payments and receipts, which this is one of them. It's actually an account book. Then we have patient ledgers that detail patient information, or at least who resided at the almshouse and county home, employee information, inventory information, minutes from boards and meetings, There's a couple check ledgers. I have to check those, though. Check. Nursing information, and we're creating an 8th series in that we have a number of ledgers that deal with death records. But like I said, this is one of the oldest in the collection. It's from 1833. I'm going to kind of do this.
Do you need help?
Yeah.
I don't have gloves on.
It's fine.
Is that all right?
It's
Okay.
fine. You can see that they actually made an attempt when this ledger was started. It was indexed, and names actually refer to specific pages.
Can they? Oh, yeah, good.
Yeah. This ledger actually goes from 1833 to about, I think, 1869, if I'm not mistaken. And it's going to have, as I try not to break it, it's very awkward to hold. You can see that the headings are at the top of the page and list payment amounts down the side. This ledger actually contains a number of accounts, including in the back, you have livestock information for livestock that was purchased or slaughtered. This just happens to be
That's for the Berksheim.
For Berksheim, and sold. There's also accounts labeled funeral expenses, outdoor relief, patient care, supplies, and whatnot. So this is one of the really good, actually it's more than this, 1870. So
It goes up to 1870.
Probably a little bit higher than that. But it's just a wealth of information that explains how the home was working at the time.
How it functioned.
How it functioned, exactly.
It was really, I guess, I wish we had George here. I mean, a self-sustaining entity. I mean, they could carry on almost in a communal form.
Right, because I believe there was a farm there.
Right, no,
They
sure.
had their own farm. A lot of things were done in-house. Some of the patient ledgers list, when the residents left, like they found employment or they were kicked out.
That happened?
Yeah, that happened too. Things like that. I also brought.
Let me ask you a question. There was something you were telling me about the other day, where it showed how many meals were served over.
That's this ledger.
Be patient, son.
Be patient, because this is where we're going to introduce another "Do you know?" question.
Uh-oh.
This one, as you can see, is falling apart. It's literally hanging on by a thread, so I'm going to try not to break it.
Yeah, I can smell the mustiness from here. I wouldn't be surprised if you can smell it at home, too.
Yeah. This one, we're probably going to end up having to do a little bit of preservation work on. We're definitely going to have to photocopy it. You can actually, if you see my hands, they're all getting all dirty from the books. This one is actually written in pencil, and this lists every meal. They served 3 meals a day, at least for 1873 and 1874, which is what this ledger spans. 3 meals a day for every day, for every month for 2 years. So my do you know part of this show is, how many meals do you think they served on December 25th, 1873? And then how many meals do you think they served for the entire month?
Ooh.
Yeah, we're going to
Get your calculators out.
Yeah. So a couple of things. The Berksheim collection is just being started. I've got about 60 ledgers processed. So another little trick for you is that it will not be available until the end of the month. So you cannot come in and look at the ledgers until the end of March. So you have to make a guess on this question. And I guess my preservation tip, because I'm going to kind of institute some of that, will be demonstrated by the lovely ledger book. As you can see, age, ooh, we have a home viewer.
We have a home
Real quick, age is, wearing the book down. We call this red rot or leather rot because you can see that the leather is just, the collection just happens to be dirty because it's old. You can also see that the spine is missing. When you have books this big and you can't lay them standing up or lying flat, we recommend that you put them spine down, because the heavier part of the book is always going to be the pages, and if you put them page down, the pages will literally start ripping away from the binding. So in the archival and museum profession, we like spines down.
And they really, you know, a book like that doesn't really have to look like that. We were fortunate. We were up. Kim and I took a trip up to the Bethany Children's Home this past, last Friday, and saw a number of their ledgers. One of which was older. Was about this age, and it was almost in pristine condition. So, yeah, like I said, if they're well taken care of, they can last a long, long time.
I think we better get to our home viewer.
Oh, okay. We do have a home
patience, home viewer. Go ahead.
Home.
Hi. I have a quick question. Some of my volunteers, would they get a free membership for that year if they come all the time, or how does that work?
Well, we hadn't been doing that, but but you're in, as a volunteer, it's almost like that. No, that's a question that we've never addressed that before. I'm embarrassed to say, but like I said, that might be something we need to consider.
Okay, well, who would the person call then to talk about becoming a volunteer, or just call the Historical Society?
Well, you call the Historical Society, but depending on what area, like I said, if you'd like to volunteer for the library, if you'd like to volunteer for the library, the archives, you'd call Kimberly and ask for Kimberly Richards. If you would like to volunteer for the museum, you would call Joshua Blade.
Okay.
But we'd love to have you, we really would, and I think if you're interested in this, you'd have a good time.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Well, to finish up, a lot of the Berksheim ledgers are in good shape. They're just, if you're going to come in and take a look at them, don't wear your Sunday best.
Okay, let's see. What are we moving along? Joshua, where do we stand right now? Do we want to talk about the upcoming exhibit?
I'd love to. As I mentioned, we're in the final lap of being ready for our exhibit opening this coming Saturday morning. I wanted to share a treat with you. No one else has probably seen this yet. We just hung it on the wall a couple of days ago. This is another item for our graphics camera. It's the portrait of the gentleman there. We owe an incredible amount of thanks to the Spinnaker Foundation for this. Those of you may recognize General Spatz. He was a Boyertown boy, and he was a general of the Air Force, as I understand it, in World War II. And he was a boyhood friend of an artist by the name of Frederick Sands Bruner, who was also from Boyertown. And Frederick Sands Bruner also painted this portrait of Colonel Spatz. We have a significant piece of Colonel Spatz's history in the collection already. Colonel Spatz, I think in the 1920s, late 20s, early 30s, invented the first in-flight air refueling device, and we have a major item of that device that we've even loaned to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base Museum in Dayton, Ohio before. But this just came to us recently, thanks very much to the Spinnaker Foundation, and it's hanging on the wall in our auditorium with a little nice little Reading Airport display. The same artist, Frederick Sands Bruner, who was born in 1886 and passed away in 1954, he also did a portrait of Spatz, which he gave to the Boyertown High School, which is still on display there. I believe it's in their library or auditorium. I think it's the library. So we're incredibly happy to have this. It's a very nice, it's in great shape, the original frame, and it comes to us from the daughter of the artist. So we're very happy to have that. So very much continued thanks are due to the Spinnaker Foundation.
Yeah, it is a beautiful portrait. I mean, when you look at that portrait, put that back up again. I mean, I always think about that. My dad was an aviator all his life, and when I look at that portrait, and you think about General Spatz, I mean, he was in charge of all the Army Air Forces during World War II. You know, from Boyertown, and when you look at him, he was, you know, the same in the league of George Marshall, Eisenhower. Actually, I believe he outranked Eisenhower, and so many Nimitz. You know, he was top dog, if you will, and from right here in our own hometown. So, and when I look at that portrait, I can just, if you back out, pan back out on the portrait, I mean, it really does. All it says to me, again, coming from an aviation family, is off we go into the wild blue yonder. I mean, it just, it's beautiful. Right
near his portrait in the auditorium, we have a reprint of a Reading Daily Newsweek, which they would send overseas, and also probably made the regular Reading Eagle. After the war, they had a sort of a victory parade, and he came over from Pottstown, and when he got to the Lindbergh Viaduct, he went to an open car. There's a shot. taken from the lead vehicle of that parade, that motorcade down Penn Street on the way to Albright, I think it was. And it shows Penn Street absolutely packed. You could have not packed another person onto that street. So this shows what sort of popularity this gentleman had. It still does to this day. So we are incredibly happy to have this in our collection. We brought some posters along with us on the floor. If you want to pan through those slowly, I'll tell you a little bit about the exhibit, but not give all the surprises away here. We have some of the highlights here. We have a scrapyard diorama with all sorts of old iron, even old model trains and old fence and old radiator parts, which was collected for the war effort. And we have a wonderful recreation. Some of our volunteers have been absolutely floored already because they've had a little preview of the exhibit. We have a wonderful recreation of a 1940s kitchen with an authentic Hoosier, which I wasn't too familiar with. A little bit.
The refrigerator.
No, the Hoosier.
Which was the Hoosier?
It's the item that contained the flour and the sugar and the measuring cups. There's also a very old refrigerator in there. I'm very glad that it has to be where it has to be because it's a very, very heavy item. The top is absolutely heavy, but it's one of those, I think it's one of the first units to have the cooling equipment at the top with a lid. So that's an incredibly heavy piece of item. We also have a section where we talk about victory gardens. And when the exhibit's open, we have a unique item you'll be able to take home and put on your windowsill. It's some pea seeds. You can plant a little styrofoam cup and take home with you and grow your own little victory garden on the windowsill. We also have a section on plane spotting. And we also, as popular as the kitchen so far, we have a wonderful recreation of a living room that's furnished by the Antique Dealers Association of Berks County. So the opening day is just going to be, I'm sure it's going to be packed as long as the weather holds out. Well, we owe a tremendous amount of thanks to our guest curator, Paul Troutman. This is the third or fourth exhibit he's done for us, in addition to the tools that Bill Berks and also toys of the 20th century. We also should thank the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission, the Berks County Board of Commissioners, and also the Bradingham Family Foundation for making this exhibit possible. It's going to open this Saturday, the 7th at 10 o'clock, and scheduled to run till mid-September.
You know, I mean, this is I believe a rhetorical question, but what struck you when you were putting this? I mean, I know what hit me, but what struck you as you were putting this exhibit together, Josh?
What kind of sort of struck me, of course, I'm almost 30 years old, shall I say, almost 30 years. It just sort of struck me going through all the research and going through the posters and the newspaper articles, how encompassing that World War II was. World War I was to a very minor extent when you consider we were the people in the States rolling in the war for 2 years. But when it came time to World War II, it's just an amazing shift. We have a timeline in the first section of the room as you come in, and there was a lot of sentiment before December 7th, 1941, of keeping the United States out of the war. But once we realized that there was no turning back after the Day of Infamy, that there was a total commitment by everybody, not just workers, but industrial workers, but people on the farm, the women going to take the place of the men that had gone overseas, the children that were collecting the milk pods for the life vests to use for the flotation devices, the children collecting tin cans, the Tin Can Army. It's just amazing. There was a full effort by everybody to support the war. Yeah. And I just can't imagine, I'm not going to get into political commentary, but I just can't imagine living in that time, and everybody was for it. Everybody had the one single purpose, and we stood united. It basically sums it up.
As the title stands. You know what struck me when when I saw this exhibit coming together was, many times when you look at an exhibit on World War I or World War II, okay, normally the exhibit focuses on those brave fighting men and women who were serving in distant lands and on foreign shores. This is different from that in that we're focusing on those who helped here in Berks County out on the home front and who provided the materials and the supplies necessary to ensure democracy was saved throughout the world. The other thing is, when I was getting into it, again, most of our exhibits explore the distant ancestors or cultural facets of Reading and Berks County, and our ancestors who are many years back. This one focuses on people that we know. I mean, and I don't, whatever generation it is, my father, you know, your grandmother, your grandfather, your aunt or uncle, you know, even older brothers. I mean, they were in this, and they were participating on the home front. I look at my mother, my grandmother. She sewed parachutes here in Reading. My father had a contract with the War Department to train pilots for their primary training from Albright College and many other places before they went into the service. And they deemed it important enough that he had a hard time getting in the service. He finally had some friends on the draft board who he convinced that we can fulfill this contract for the government and I can still get in uniform and go overseas, which he eventually did. But like I said, it's people like that. It's not distant ancestors. It's people that we know that have had a direct impact on all of us. I'm sure your grandmother, you know, your grandparents, you know, had that involvement. I know I have an 11-year-old great nephew. His grandfather, his great-great-grandfather, still alive, took part in that. So even he has a connection there. And that's so much different. And it also examines the companies that we had here in town. Carpenter Steel,
Reading Airshoot,
Price Battery, Narrow Fabrics, Pennsylvania Stainless Casting Company, Wyomissing Industries. They all participate in that. And so it's unique in that we're looking at a different facet of this this particular era in American history. And I think that you know, we can really be proud of Berks County, because in many cases the companies here in Berks County, some of them were some of the very first to be awarded war contracts, you know, war effort contracts, and they were also some of the ones that earned some of the highest honor, the E awards. You'll see that as part of the exhibit. These companies that excelled and, you know, and really contributed. So
we have one of those E flags. They would give the workers buttons, but we also have a button and a flag, and also a banner too. If we have a look at a couple of the items on the table here, we could have a look at those as well. The first item in front of the laptop, maybe we can get a little closer onto it, is a view of the Victory Gardens up on Hampton Boulevard. And again, this isn't just one instance of the Victory Gardens. This is just about everywhere.
Which, oh yeah, back where?
Yeah, well, I think it's like, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, this is a Victory Gardeners digging in on Hampton Boulevard. I forget which block of Hampton Boulevard, but it gives you an idea, gives you an idea of just the amount of people. And there's some kids there and some men along with them. So they were all in it to win was another one of the popular phrases. In it to win.
Even when you look at the, you know, we had some photographs of the chow lines in the army. Whatever, you can't eat it, don't take it. You know, and like I said, it was that concerted an effort. It really is. What are some of the other posters that we've got in there, down the bottom? Well, there's back the attack.
Back the attack. Food is a weapon. Liberty loans and fuel is scarce. We also have something here on the table talking about using it up. Wear it out, make it do. Yeah, that's interesting. This is a pot, a cooking pot. You can clearly have a look at the bottom here. It's been worn out. This is a period piece too. There's a pretty good hole right there in the bottom. But they said they sold mend-it kits, or mend-its, like the bottom's been torn away. But this is basically a patch kit for the pots. And this is a section here we're going to talk about. We also have examples of patching shoes, how you can make shoes last longer.
So they would fill that hole in with that?
It's basically like a little rivet. There's a big, there's a little wing nut and a studded screw on the back of it there, a threaded screw where you could see it there.
You know, that's so antithetical to today's society where,
the smiley face is not original.
Right. Yeah, I mean, today, when something wears out, you toss it, you know?
We talk about rubber rationing, all the inner tubes. We have a very, very good gas display furnished by a few people. We have an antique gas pump. And it's just amazing how all-encompassing the effort was to
It's like I said, that's where, I mean, my philosophy of history is when you look at something like that, I like, you know, the evolution of how societies change. And you go from something like that where they're mending, you know, to use that again. And granted, the circumstances were different during that time.
When's the last time you heard of somebody mending a pot?
Exactly. No, I mean, you wear it out, you pitch it.
Yeah.
You know?
Or it goes to Goodwill and Salvation Army.
Exactly. If they're lucky.
Yeah.
So, anyway. What else?
I think we have a second or third edition of Do You Know?
Okay.
Ready?
Do you know? Do you know? Okay. What do we got, Josh?
A couple images here on the laptop here. Again, give you a nice clue here. This is in the county.
Where is it?
Where is it? When is it?
What is it?
And what is it? This is, I'm almost tempted to tell you, but I probably shouldn't. But this is a very interesting thing. I'm sure not a lot of people realize what this is. It'd make you think. It really would make you think. We also have a second section here, related topic. The truck on the your right-hand side is sort of a clue, but again, what is it, when is it, and where is it?
Yeah. If you, like I said, if you call in and make sure we get your name, address, and telephone number so that we can award you your prize. But these are interesting questions. I don't know if anybody in the audience has ever seen these, and I mean, the calls aren't flooding in, so I'm not sure. I think we might have them stumped.
Stumped the chumps, as the clerks
they say.
But if you think of something, and when you're seeing the show after we're live here, of course, please give us a call. We'd be happy to award the prize.
Okay.
Very happy to award the prize.
Anything on the curatorial side of it, Josh?
We've just been really busy with the museum exhibit coming up. We have a new volunteer that just started, so very working heavily with that person. He's been a great help already, helping with our incoming loans. And we'll be back on the inventory when the exhibit opens.
Okay,
yeah.
Very good. Well, I think I would like to talk about some of the events that we've got going on at the Historical Society that are coming up in the month of March and April. I always know that springtimes. Okay, we have a home viewer. Okay, home viewer.
Hello?
Yes, you there?
I wanted to guess what the first picture was.
The very first one, or the one we just showed?
You just showed two?
Yes.
The first of the two?
Yes.
Prison?
It's a what?
Prison.
What kind of prison?
County prison.
No, it's not
It's incredibly close.
You're close.
State.
No. No.
Debtor's prison?
No, I don't know that we can run down the list quite that way with you. You might want to, if you want to call back, if you think about it and want to call back, you're on the right track. I got to say that.
You're incredibly close.
Well, incredible. Okay, we got another home viewer.
Thank you.
That's sorry. Next home viewer.
Second left.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay.
Good. What can we help you? What are you calling in for?
The same picture as the guy before.
Okay, tell us.
I think it's in Bern Township.
I think that's right.
And I think it's behind the airport. And it used to be, I think, World War I. I could be wrong. And they were housing a lot of, I guess, prisoners. I'm not sure, but I know it was something to do with the military.
I think that's
because it wasn't World War I, it was World War II.
These are the prisoner of war camps right up by the airport. You are indeed correct, but it's certainly World War II.
Okay, yeah, I know some of the buildings are still there, but most of it's been taken away.
Certainly.
Yeah. But that is something many people didn't know in that. If you would please give your name to, what is the engineer?
Producer.
The producer, excuse me, your name and to the producer, and so that you can come get you to the Historical Society and pick up your prize.
Oh, okay.
We're happy to have you. It's one of either your choice of the color of caps or the Passing Scene Volume 13.
I already have the passing scene. I'll take a cap.
Okay, we love to give you one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have another home viewer? No. Okay. Okay. Well, back at what's going on at the Historical Society on Saturday, March 14th. We have the return of Kitty Jones and her Kit's Caboodle Interactive Theater. Kitty's been coming, I think she is probably on her, 8th year at the Historical Society. And every year it's a great time. It's a wonderful time. I think last year we probably had in the neighborhood of 170 people attending. It sometimes gets to be standing room only. But Kitty, just as the name implies, puts on an interactive show, and this year her production is Charlotte Beauregard, a Civil War story that traces the Civil War and Charlotte's travails from Fort Sumter through the Gettysburg Address and the assassination of President Lincoln. And it really is good. And as, like I said, as the name implies, it's interactive. If you come to the show, Kitty's going to have you involved now. So it's a lot of fun. Everybody has a good time. They learn a lot with it. And one of the nice things about this program is that it is a free program for the Children's Outreach of the Historical Society of Berks County. Children it's from 7 to 107, but children under 18 must be accompanied by an adult. And again, it's at our main facility at 940 Center Avenue on Saturday, March 14th, and it begins at 10 a.m. Also, during April, and that is on, is the return of Carol Toomey's, the Rainbow Theater. And that is an event that we've been hosting. I believe we're on our 3rd year at the Historical Society, and this takes place down at the Hendel House at the beautiful Victorian Mansion at 746 Center Avenue. And there are going to be, there are going to be 4 performances. There's going to be a performance at 7 p.m. on Friday, April 24th. There will be 2 performances on Saturday, April 25th, one at 1 p.m. and one at 3 p.m. And then again on Sunday, April 26th at 2 p.m. The price of admission for this event is $12, but that includes refreshments at the Hendel House. This year's production is Everybody's Birthday Party, and it is everybody's birthday party. So that's a wonderful event that the Historical Society is very proud and pleased to be able to put on. It's a great way to see the Hendel House, great way to see the show, and also at the Hendel House right now with the efforts of our education curator, Vicki Hefner, and HSBC trustee and devoted volunteer, Chris Miller. They have put together an Easter egg tree at the Historical Society, and for those of you who have never seen one of these, it's really spectacular. It's something that's just part of our culture, goes back a long, long way, and really worthwhile taking part in. So those are some of the things that are coming up at the Historical Society. Josh, you have a few more pictures that we can look at?
Certainly. I have a...
oh, wait a minute. We do have another home
first.
Hello?
Good evening.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to identify that second picture.
Which one was that?
The chapel on the Berks County Airport during World War II.
Yes, indeedy.
We got another winner.
Pardon?
We've got, you're a winner. Yeah, that's great. You know, it's I guess that has been torn down.
Yeah, that's been torn down a while.
Yeah, that's too bad. That was a unique piece of architecture here in town. Yeah, well, that's great. Well, we're glad to have you as a winner. If you would give the producer your name, address, and telephone number, so that we can get that, and you can come by the Historical Society and pick up your prize.
Well, I'm presently confined in a Wyomissing nursing home and rehab.
Well, one of us can run it by.
Yeah,
We'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay.
Would that be all right?
Sure.
Well, if you'd give us your give us your name and address and tell us where we can drop it off to you, we'd like to meet you and thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to go back to the PowerPoint, I'll share a few slides here in honor of George Miser's absence.
Okay.
A little self-promotion here. I was going to get to the chapel here, but I'm glad someone knew which one that was. Just a few slides here. This is a series of slides we had in our past exhibit, the 170th anniversary of the Writing Railroad. We're actually going to be doing a neat thing here. We've never done this with the past exhibits before. We're going to be getting our former digital photo frame slideshows up on the internet. So you can still scroll through the images long after the exhibit's open, after the exhibit is closed. And these are a selection of a few of my images, so this is just a little self-promotion here. Just some modern-day shots that I took, and it's been a really good way to discover Berks County because I'm not originally from the area. This is actually just up in Temple. This is a train. Norfolk Southern sponsored our exhibit, but they took over Conrail. That's why this engine still says Conrail on it. But this engine is just in Temple here. This line originally went all the way up to Slantington, but it only goes up to a few industrial plants just north of the 222 extension there. It does go all the way up to Evansville. There's a cement plant up there, but trains haven't gone up there in years, as I understand it. The main line is on your right-hand side, so this train is considered to be like on a branch line. There's some few scrapyard customers and a few other people up there, but it's a pretty busy line for them. I think they go up there about 3 days a week. That shot was taken about 3 years ago.
Josh, were there some lines that they just pulled up around Boyertown?
Yes, might get to that. I'm not sure. There's a line, it's called the Colebrookdale line. It used to go all the way from Pottstown through Boyertown and Pine Forge, then Boyertown, then up to Bartow. The railroad line up there was cut back to Boyertown. I'm not sure exactly when, but it only goes up to Boyertown now. But the company through there, really, there's not a lot of customers on the line as I understand it. But there's some unique wooden trestles on the line, and they're trying to preserve the line. Now, there's a little, what they called a railroad yard, where they sort out freight cars in Boyertown. Since the company wanted to abandon the line between Pottstown and Boyertown, the village of Boyertown bought where the former railroad yard was in Boyertown, and they recently pulled all the tracks up there to use for parking. But the county commissioners are trying to negotiate with the railroad company to buy the line to preserve the railroad right-of-way, because there's a lot of unique bridges through there, but also just in case any future industrial development occurs on the line up through there. I've taken a few pictures of the line, never saw a train running on it. It's a beautiful line, but there's just not a lot of industrial customers on it, and it wasn't profitable for the company. I hope they save it. Sometimes they can do what's called rail banking something, where you basically take a section of railroad and don't pull up the track, because it's incredibly expensive to lay track back down after you pulled it up, maybe $1 million a mile or something like that.
Just to lay it?
Just to relay it down. But a lot of railroads have been doing something called rail banking, where you just leave the right-of-way intact, but you like pave over the rail crossings. That way you don't pull up any track, but you just leave it there just in case something happens. And I'm not sure if you can get a tax write-off for that or not, but I know that's becoming more popular instead of pulling up lines. Next slide is here. This locomotive is one of the biggest the Renting Company ever owned. The Renting Company went out of business in 1976. This locomotive is actually up in South Hamburg. It's owned by the Renting Company Technical and Historical Society. They bought it. They own a number of former Renting engines, and they run when they can. Obviously, an engine like this burns up a lot of diesel fuel, so they don't run it too often. It's quite expensive to fill a multi-thousand-gallon tank on that locomotive.
What kind of fuel does that thing burn?
Diesel fuel.
No, I know it burns diesel, but how much? Do you have any idea how much?
I'm not sure exactly how much. It's a good question.
Well, the only reason I ask that is because they say, you know, a steel wheel on a steel track is the most efficient
It certainly is.
Form of transportation. It's the cheapest running.
Our PowerPoint, I guess I wasn't clicking the slides fast enough.
Not too powerful.
We'll be able to get it back here. Just bear with me a second. But I think, I'm not exactly sure how many gallons of fuel, but it does cost a lot. I think they might be like 4,000, 5,000 gallon tanks on engines like that.
I'm not sure
exactly. But a locomotive works, it burns diesel fuel to power an electric generator to power the traction motors on the wheels itself. Try to get the power back
So 4,000 or 5,000 gallon tank, and how far? What kind of run could that engine take? And I guess it depends on how many trains it's pulling.
Yeah, it depends. I think I'm like a main route. Maybe I'm not exactly. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure how much. I know Reading doesn't have a fueling station, so I'm just.
But it could run from New York to Chicago.
Actually, certain locomotives could. It depends on which one's hauling the train.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, there's also options like ordering a car, the amount of fuel tank size you can order. Our next slide, this may look like a pile of scrap iron, and almost essentially is. This is what's called a Camelback steam locomotive. The Reading Company was known for having Camelback steam locomotives, which burned anthracite. If you look, see if I can get the pointer to work here on the PowerPoint presentation, or possibly not, but if you look midway down the locomotive, there we go. See this wooden frame structure here? This is actually where the engineer, he would be on the right-hand side, which is over here. But the Camelback locomotives, the firebox, which was back here where you put the coal into the locomotive, they burned anthracite, which needed a wider area. And it was too wide to get the cab of the locomotive and the back. So they would put it in the middle, hence the name Camelback. This locomotive is the only Reading Camelback engine left, and there's only a few Camelback locomotives left themselves. But this is actually down in Strasburg, down in Lancaster County, possibly to be restored to running order. This engine actually worked in Birdsboro for a number of years for the Colorado Fuel and Iron Company, just under the 82 bridge there.
Okay, okay.
Across the river there. Next slide. This is actually right in Reading itself. This is the Spring Street Yard Office. This is a former building right here. The Spring Street subway would be just on your left-hand side there. This is, they still maintain quite a busy freight yard over there.
Is that, yeah?
In the city of Reading here, switching trains about. But this is the main office where the men would sit, keeping an eye on things going on.
So when they would come in, like I said, there'd be trains waiting to be picked up or cars waiting to be picked up. Is that what they call demurrage?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is the Spring Street switching freight yard. The Spring Street subway is just on your left-hand side here. This is the plant down in Sinking Spring. FM Browns, they sponsored our exhibit, but they maintain 4 businesses in the area. This is the bird feed and turf grass seeds over in Sinking Spring that receives rail service here. This is, I think it's Woodrow or Wilson Avenue crossing here.
I believe so, yeah.
Sinking Spring right here. This is a rail grinding train in Sinking Spring that there's grinders down along the bottom in the middle of the big yellow thing there, and it basically regrinds the profile of the rails to be used for service.
Well, what are all the cars in back? Is that where they're putting the grinding?
Yeah, this is actually where the cutting equipment would be. There's a bunch of cutting heads. This actually isn't running, but if it was running, you'd see a whole bunch of sparks back here, and there's water tank cars back here where they would spray it to put out fires that would set alongside the railroad track.
Really?
Because there's hot sparks. When this thing is working, this thing was just in transit when I saw it. But when it's working, there's a number of hot sparks come out. So they don't do this when it's dry as much as possible.
Yeah, I'll bet not.
Next shot, this is again in Sinking Spring. There's a branch that goes from Sinking Spring, used to go all the way down into Lancaster County, but I think it only goes as far as Denver now. This is a train coming off the branch line that goes into Reading Yard here.
Okay, well, Joshua,
all we have time for.
I'm sorry, but I'm sorry for all of us, but our time is up. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us tonight. I'd like to wish you would tell your friends about the Historical Society of Berks County. Please stop by and visit us. We'd love to see you. You'd have a great time. Come to our exhibit opening this Saturday, March 7th, 10 a.m. The museum opens at 9. And I'd like to thank my colleagues, Kimberly Richards and Joshua Blay, for all the work that they do at the Historical Society. The place wouldn't run without them. I want to thank all of you. You betcha. Well, good to see you. We'll see you next month on Wednesday, April 1st. Take care.